Hi, this is Cindy Blair from the Alexandria Museum of Art. Welcome to another AMoA Art Together Tuesday. Today I'll be speaking with Paul Nettles. Paul is a Central Louisiana artist, primarily working in photography. He has a bachelor in studio arts and psychology from Louisiana College. Today he'll be talking to us about his creative process as well as some tips he has for beginning photographers.
I have always had a thought process of doing this for myself. So my photographs have always been taken for me primarily. Secondarily, if someone likes them, wonderful. If not, it's for me. What I have always liked visually is repetition and juxtaposition. I love patterns. My mind seeks out patterns, especially in visual objects. When I'm seeing things, when I'm walking around looking, repetition will catch my eye. I tend to be OCD, so orderly things are very pleasing to me. But then also at the same time, when I find that moment where there is a break in that pattern, that really draws me, not necessarily in a negative way, but I see that and it draws me to it instantly. And my tastes have changed as I've grown in photography and in any of my art. Well, to give you the background of it, when I started out in photography, seriously, 20 years ago, I started in film, of course. I drifted into digital briefly, and then drifted back out again. And I have found myself now using older equipment. The camera that was taken on is actually a former Soviet Union Fed 5 camera, very limited in its ability. And I was using expired color film, which has been something else I've been drifting in and out of. Photography to me has always been being able to take a tiny slice out of the river, one little moment, and hold it forever. And with film, you can do that. With a camera, you can do that. But then you throw in expired film and you get uncontrollable results. You get colors that shift. You get exposures that change. The film gets less sensitive as it gets older. It throws in a variable, a wild card. So I was actually in the hospital waiting for my grandson to be born. And was wandering around the hospital. It was actually a holiday. It was the July 4th holiday. Hospital was empty and I was roaming around. I was bored. We'd been there for hours and hours waiting on the contractions to start. And so I was wandering around and I came onto a cardiologist's office that was in the dark. Lights were all turned very low. It was just emergency lighting only. And they had decorated the place in these very early 70s bright, vibrant colors and kind of funky chairs. And it was a waiting room, so of course it was empty. It was late in the evening. And it was very moody, very dark. And then these bright colors just leaping out from this darkness. And of course the chairs were set in very specific, orderly fashion. Someone had taken a great deal of care to make them very orderly. So the repetition of pattern, of course, drew me instantly. The wonderful bright color, since I knew I had color film, was an immediate plus. But what really got me with that photograph was the sense of a place that wasn't being used. It wasn't abandoned, but it looked lost. It was without purpose. It was void. It was just a staging area, a stage set, if you would. And that really drew me. I've always found myself looking to a certain subtle menace in things. A lot of my photos here of late, I tend to find these dark places, these places that make me uncomfortable a little bit in one way or the other, that draw me because of that discomfort. And so that empty waiting room was this kind of Twilight Zone-y, empty, waiting for it to be filled, transitional place. And of course the design was perfect. The seam across the back of the chairs drew the eye straight into the photo. The photo ends at a great big sort of a green love seat back in the back. Or I think there may have been several chairs side by side. and then matching tables or almost matching. And so it was a very obvious pattern, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized that the tables, the two end tables, weren't the same. They were very similar, but they weren't the same. I was across the hall looking into it, and I intentionally set the camera off just a little bit so that it wouldn't be an exact immediate mirror image of chair and chair straight backwards. And that subtle discomfort appealed to me a great deal. I knew the color would be not quite what I was seeing. I knew it would drift some. And I knew the design was what I wanted, but I knew if I set it off a little bit, it would be more interesting. It would be more aggravating. Someone like me, someone with OCD who wants it nice and square and straight and rulered, and then the tables are off a little bit, and then the chairs are turned a little bit, and the framing is off. So it's that same little bothersome aggravation. It's not quite perfect, which is all of life. So with TikTok, I had actually bought years and years ago a little tiny Kodak Brownie 620. It's a little metal body, post-World War II. I think these date from like 1945 to 1948. Extremely old camera. It was in perfect condition off eBay. Picked it up for a song. And it uses a specific film format that Kodak had invented just so they could sell 620 cameras. But there's a company that makes the film, so I bought a couple rolls of film, black and white, and went out. And this camera is profoundly simple. This is about 1.5 steps above a pinhole camera. But those limitations really, really push me out of my comfort zone. I can't just throw a new lens on. I can't just change the f-stop to f5 or 5.6 or 8 or whatever. I can't. I have one setting and I've got to use it. And so I have been exploring this camera. I've never shot with it before, and I decided to tie my TikTok videos into that. So my TikTok videos, I've been calling it the One Roll of Film Project. It's going to be usually one video per exposure. There's 12 exposures in the roll, so hopefully roughly 12 videos. And I just discuss very briefly, very briefly, my reason for taking the shot, my feeling behind the shot, the way I'm setting the camera up, why I'm setting it up that way, what the design of the photograph is, to give people an idea of what it's like to step away from that auto mode in digital where you literally can just point and shoot, or your camera, you pick it up and you point and you're finished. You really have to think, and I mean a great deal about this thing. So I've been doing that on TikTok, and it's taught me, A, of course, how to use the camera, but B, how to be terse, how to get just the kernel, just the core information in. And that's been a challenge too for someone who's very, very voluble, who likes to speak. Definitely. If you really want to get serious, and I don't mean professional serious, I mean just serious with your photography, where you don't just accept what you get out of your camera or out of your cell phone. And this is nothing you haven't heard before, I guarantee it. If you read anything, if you listen to anybody talk about photography, when you get to a serious level, you've got to take control. If you have a digital camera, put it on manual. If you have an autofocus lens, put it on manual. Do the work yourself. Find the settings you like, find what you're learning. Learn the exposure triangle, learn depth of field, change your ISO on your camera, change your white balance if you want to. Don't be afraid to get in there and try it, and don't be afraid to screw up, because you're going to screw up over and over and over again. That's part of it. That's how you grow. The joy of it is, especially if you're not doing film like I am, you can shoot pixels all day long. It doesn't cost you a thing. Learn with that. Practice with it. Shoot all the time. Always have your camera with you. That's a big part of it. There's an old newsman's saying, F8 and be there. Always have your camera with you. Moments come and go so fast. And I don't mean your cell phone camera, your real camera. Learn to be fast with it. Learn to get those settings. Learn to adjust on the fly and get that photograph while it lasts. Some of the best photos I've taken have been very on the fly, from the backs of pickup trucks and from a hot air balloon basket and all these weird places on the road, and you stop and you take it and it's gone. So practice a lot, screw up a lot, mess stuff up, figure out why you messed it up. Maybe you like that screw up. Maybe you like how it came out. Don't be afraid to try things.
We'd like to thank Paul for joining us for this edition of AMoA's Art Together Tuesday. It's not too late to vote for your favorite artist in our 33rd September competition. Simply go to the link in the description and vote for your favorite. There will be a Viewer's Choice Award, so go and support those artists. Thanks for joining us today, and until next time, stay creative and be kind to one another.